Human brain is incredibly imaginative. It has the ability to create entire worlds and scenarios in our minds. Which is why I want you to imagine an 8-year-old. An 8-year-old leading a very normal life. When suddenly, on a random night, you feel a sharp, unexplained headache. It's strange, but you don't think much of it at first. Your parents, concerned, take you to the doctor, thinking it's probably nothing serious. You walk into the clinic, not realizing how much your life is about to change. You're sitting on a cold examination table, swinging your legs, feeling the weight of the room. The doctor runs all kinds of tests. And you can see the serious look on your parents' faces, but you still don't understand what's wrong. After what feels like hours, the doctor finally calls you into his office. The mood of the room changes. You can notice tension in the room. He starts to speak, his voice deep and heavy, his face grim. Suddenly, the word diabetes enters the conversation. You don't understand what it means, but you can sense it's something big. The doctor explains that your body isn't able to produce or use insulin properly, which is why your blood sugar levels are rising. It's hard to process as an 8-year-old. You look at your parents, your mother trying not to cry, and your father asking a lot of questions you don't fully understand. And all you feel is confusion and a sense that life is going to be very different from now on. This 8-year-old was me, finding out that I had diabetes mellitus type 1. When I first found out as a kid, I really didn't understand what restrictions and constraints it would bring. All I knew was that I couldn't have chocolates anymore. Diabetes came and said, knock, knock. Who's there? Sugar. Sugar who? Sugar coated all you want, but you still can't have desserts. It was later that I understood what repercussions it had on my health. And at that moment, I realized just how deeply my parents were affected. Being a part of them, they felt everything I did, but their emotions were even more intense. Though they couldn't share my physical pain, they experienced it in their own ways, feeling heartbroken, helpless, and devastated. And obviously, it didn't just affect me. The ripple effect touched my whole family. I vividly remember my sister saying that she doesn't like ice creams anymore and that she won't have it. Why? Because I couldn't have it. She's her. So then I understood what it actually meant, what problems I was facing. You know, major changes in life, they often follow a pattern. In the first few days, everything seems so special. Everyone's taking care of you, asking you what you want. You know, they're so concerned and careful that you feel surrounded by so much love. But it's only after that initial period, when you step back into the real world, when you start facing things on your own, that is when you truly realize how much your life has changed. It's like being placed inside, it's like being placed inside a box and confined by rules and restrictions that aren't of your choosing. Imagine having to eat certain things even when they don't appeal to you. Imagine having to force yourself to eat even when you're not hungry. Worse still, imagine craving something as simple as a snack only to be told you can't have it. It felt as though my natural impulses, my free will is being taken away from me. I'm no longer a person with dreams and desires. I become someone people pity, someone who must live by restrictions that feel unfair. And this is my question to you all. How would you feel? Weird? I felt the shift in how people treated me. Those looks of sympathy and all those attempts to console me. Why? Why? Because I had a medical condition. Why? Because it was chronic, it was incurable. I felt ostracized, an anecdote of which I would actually like to share here. So it was like I had set times for my meals, which is why I took 2 lunch boxes to school. Over time, I've come to realize that it wasn't that big of a deal, but I assure you, a second grader would relate with me that how embarrassing and terrible it felt when my teacher asked me to step out of the class and eat my lunch alone outside. I know she did so because she cared. But as the people walked by in the corridor, I could always sense their gazes on me, looking at me with sympathy and curiosity in their eyes. Even my classmates looked at me differently as they watched me walk out of the class to eat my lunch alone. All those looks of concern, confusion, and sadness, it made me feel even more isolated. And eventually, the stereotypes like the idea that I couldn't do it or the idea that I shouldn't do certain things surrounded me and made me rebellious to the situation. This growing repulsion in me, it made me turn a blind eye to what I was facing. I started eating things that were detrimental to my health. I started doing things that were detrimental to my health. And whenever someone tried to bring the discussion of my disease up, whenever someone tried to console me, sympathize with me, I felt reluctant to engage and would become furious. I found myself in deep denial. And I justified it by saying that I'm trying to feel normal, I'm trying to fit in, I'm trying to fill the gap. Was I? Okay, I'll just say it. I was being delusional. In Gen Z slang, we say Delulu is the only Sululu. But it really didn't make sense when I was sitting in my doctor's clinic, realizing that things aren't going the way desired. Rather, my condition was depleting, it was becoming worse. And we can say that this is the truth about reality, a harsh truth, that no matter how hard you try, it stays the same. Reality is like Doppler effect. The more you try to run from it, the faster it closes in on you, its intensity growing louder and clearer. Denial only compresses the truth, making it impossible to ignore as it gets closer, until it finally hits you with full force. And my reality did hit me and made it imperative that I question myself whether I am that weak. I'm that weak that every time I'm given the choice of flight or fight, why is it that I always choose flight? Why did I not fight? Or is it really the people who are looking at me in a certain way, or it's just me who's looking at myself through that lens? People often look at others in a specific way, but how they perceive you is really determined by how you see yourself, because their perception comes from your portrayal of yourself. So, one thing that I learned was that it isn't the people's perception that I should change, it was mine that is needed to be changed. Other important takeaway that I had was that being different isn't all that bad. Well, biologically, it's just 0.1% genes that makes us distinct from others, but other than that, it's our identities, our personalities that makes us distinct from others, that separate us from the rest of the world. We've all come from different walks of life. We've all seen and been through different challenges. We've all fought different battles and handled different problems. All of it molded us into who we are and what we'll become in the future. So, knowing the fact that my problems, my challenges, my hurdles are so integral to my growth, I should actually embrace them. Everyone here should. Not just this, beyond this, it's this condition which has heightened my sense of gratitude over the years. My challenges made me acknowledge what others were facing. Everyone has their own set of problems. Some people face challenges which are more manageable and don't greatly affect their lives, while others endure pain that is even beyond our imaginations. It is important to recognize that everyone faces and experiences some form of sorrow in their lives. Life is a mix of challenge and rewards. And this combination, this mix, is what makes life meaningful, worth living. It's my choice. How I look at the flowers and the weed in the same garden and recognize the importance of their presence. Just like this flower is growing and blooming in the field full of weeds. My father always told me to look at people who do not have the comforts that we take for granted, who can't access the medicines to heal, who lack the support and resources to save their lives from any disease, any problem that comes their way. And it made me feel content in my life. More than anything, I have my family. My family to support through the thick and thins of my life, to guide me when I'm lost. And no, I'm not just talking about the family that I have from my birth, but I'm also talking about the family that I created in my 17 years of existence. My friends, my teachers, and every well-wisher who helped me in every step I took forward. Who loved me, who took care of me without any condition, any question, any complaint. And this unconditional love gave me everything I needed. So if anyone ever, ever asks me that, is there anything that I would like to change in my life? As much as I'd like to say yes, I'd still say no. No. No, because the challenges I faced shaped who I am today. It made me the Palak who's standing in front of you all. Palak, who's an athlete. Palak, who's a narrator. Palak, who's an actor and a director. And finally, Palak, who's a head girl of her school.